China's economic development as an opportunity for us and not a threat.
Successive governments from successive parties.
Something of a golden era in our relationship.
All once were chasing Chinese riches, but the mood has shifted more recently.
This is the government that stood up to China.
And its behaviour is increasingly concerning.
And now Keir Starmer is the latest Prime Minister to navigate this strained relationship.
We want our relations to be consistent, respectful, avoid surprises where possible.
But the surprises are surprisingly often, according to the head of MI5. Sir Ken McCallum saying in his annual address, Chinese state operatives present a daily national security threat to the UK.
Do we see actors acting on behalf of the Chinese state engaging in activity that threatens UK national security? Yes, of course. Every day in life. I've described that today. I've described it in previous years. That will continue to be true. It's a whole series of different vectors of national security activity that we deal with.
One case MI5 helped deal with, alleged spying for China by Christopher Berry on the left and his friend, the former parliamentary researcher Christopher Cash, on the right. Both men deny all alleged crimes, but last month the case collapsed and now it's the Prime Minister's reputation in the dock.
Is your government guilty of a cover-up, Prime Minister?
The Crown Prosecution Service say the government did not provide sufficient evidence to declare China a threat. Last night, the Prime Minister released 3 witness statements his security advisor had given to prosecutors. In his statement dated December 2023, when the Conservatives were in power, the Deputy National Security Advisor from the very start describes how the Chinese state recruited Mr. Berry as an agent and successfully directed him to utilise Mr. Cash, which he says is, by its very nature, prejudicial to the safety or interests of the UK. He speaks of where the Chinese state actions pose a threat to our people, details a message from Mr. Cash to Mr. Berry saying, "You're in spy territory now," describes the Chinese intelligence services as highly capable and conduct large-scale espionage operations against the UK, and on multiple occasions, including in the conclusion, uses the phrase that actions were prejudicial to the safety or interests of the UK.
It's clear from this evidence, which all can now see, that the DNSA took significant strides to articulate the threat from China in support of the prosecution. The decision to proceed, as the Prime Minister made it clear yesterday, was taken purely by the CPS.
Senior MPs say the Director of Public Prosecutions told them last night he believed the evidence provided was 5% short of what he wanted, a point being questioned by some former prosecutors at the Crown Prosecution Service today.
Do you think that clarity was there from what you've seen of those statements?
It seems to me as though witness statement 3 meets the evidential test in order to be able to proceed with the case and put the case before the jury. But obviously that's not the view that was taken by those who were responsible for bringing the case. So that raises 2 questions. One is, why was it felt that witness statement number 3, viewed in conjunction with the previous 2 witness statements, was not enough to satisfy the test? And why, when the government was asked to add a little bit more on top, it refused to do so, if that's what happened.
And why? What is it about that extra 5% that would have been awkward for the government?
Well, I suspect the government didn't want to explicitly go on the record and say that China poses a threat to UK national security. They may have felt, well, we've already provided enough information to satisfy that test.
That's a point which Tom Tugendhat, whose office the alleged spy worked in, says, if true, is unacceptable.
Here we have 2 individuals seeking to extract information from us. And the government's response is not, as mine was, do everything you can to make sure the prosecution works, but no, process. Well, who the hell's side are you on?
The Deputy National Security Advisor's additional statements made under the new Labour government, though, show signs of politics creeping in, say the Conservatives, stating the government is committed to pursuing a positive economic relationship with China. And in his last statement from July this year, a passage on China lifted straight from the Labour manifesto. We will cooperate where we can, compete where we need to, and challenge where we must. The government say no minister or official place any influence on the Deputy National Security Advisor. But more difficult decisions lie ahead, like whether to approve plans for China's vast new embassy in the heart of London, a decision the government today announced they would delay again until December. All matters Chinese, though, are weighed up. Diplomacy versus security versus economy.
We believe that that economic relationship with China can be dramatically changed by us being a friend of China, and it will result in investments from China and technological transfer from China. Reality is that China will not do that kind of things unless it is in China's interest.
China say the so-called witness statements released are rife with unfounded accusations, nothing but sheer fabrications made out of thin air. What's in doubt in Parliament, though, isn't whether China's a threat, but how the government is dealing with the threat and why.
And Paul is outside MI5 HQ in Westminster now. Paul.
Yeah, well, the government experience today is coming head on with a cascading snowball of news. At the same time as this case has collapsed, the case which the two men involved completely deny all allegations against them. But at the same time as this case collapsed, it's happened at exactly the same moment as the head of MI5 gives his annual address where he talks about the threats the nation is facing. And featured heavily in that was China. At one point he said that what they are experiencing at the moment is a 35% increase in the number of individuals involved in state-sponsored action. And when we asked for details about, well, OK, which states are we talking about, he said the triumvirate of Iran, Russia and China. They are a persistent and ongoing threat. This has only thrown rocket fuel onto this story, which the government wants to go away. The head of MI5 says that the threat from China isn't going anywhere. What the government's experiencing is that the political threat to them from China isn't going anywhere either.